Ow!
Guys, what the heck are you doing?
Well, Retro Reject, Mechagodzilla was teaching me how to fly.
Well, technically you forced me to teach you how to fly because, well, I'm the only one who can fly here, Titanosaurus.
Oh, come on, life is so unfair. Why do you get to fly, but I can't?
Well, that's because I'm an alien robot from another planet that was sent out to destroy the world, Titanosaurus.
Well, Retro Reject, you're a boy genius, right? Can't you do something to help me fly?
Well, Titanosaurus, I wouldn't technically consider myself a genius.
Yeah, you're like a super genius.
Nala, what did I say about you complimenting me?
If it relates anything to me complimenting you, don't say them at all.
Good. So anyway, the only person I would consider to have the title of genius is Jimmy Neutron. Oh, great. This is the part where you take the situation that we're having at the moment and then you use it as a leeway into talking about cartoons you watched as a kid. Exactly, Mechagodzilla. So anyway, guys, we're gonna...
What?
Nala, you're not a Jimmy Neutron character, so... go.
Well, can I hang out here for a little bit? Okay, fine, sheesh, I'm going.
So anyway, let's get into Jimmy Neutron. Now, Jimmy Neutron was first a Nickelodeon original movie, and in fact, I have the disc right here, which is literally Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius. So, after the movie's popularity, John A. Davis, who also created the movie, decided to turn it into a television series, which it's basically called The Adventures of Jimmy Neutron, the Boy Genius. Now, it ran from 2001 to 2006. And the story, it mainly follows Jimmy Neutron, a boy genius, as well as with his friends Sheen and Carl. Now, another thing about Jimmy Neutron is that the series was the first ever computer animated cartoon for Nickelodeon. Now, back then, I mean, it was impressive, but nowadays, it just looks bad. And you would expect that, knowing that the company that did the animation was... yeah, you're gonna have nightmares for the rest of your life. Who am I kidding? I mean, you probably don't want to talk about the story of Jimmy Neutron, so let's get on with the characters. So let's first start off with Jimmy.
Just a little sodium chloride.
Actually, dude, it's salt.
That's what I said, sodium chloride.
So Jimmy Neutron is your average 11-year-old boy, except that he's a super genius. And, I mean, this guy, he has, like, of course, a head that's, like, twice the size it should be, and I mean, he makes crazy stuff. I mean, he has his own lab. He made a robotic dog. He made this giant flying fast food restaurant chain that would destroy other fast food restaurants. Well, wait a minute, don't we have something like that nowadays? I mean, it's coming to me. Come on, what was it? Oh yeah, McDonald's. And another thing that he made was a shrink ray, for crying out loud. So this guy is smart. He also has his own rocket, which he can go into outer space, and he can defy, like, any laws of science, I mean, he stands for science, but he's able to breathe in outer space with no oxygen. So that's something impressive. And he makes, like, all sorts of other inventions, and sometimes in most of the episodes, those inventions go a little bit haywire, and so Jimmy has to stop his own creations.
Nothing but puppets! Dad, is it wrong to tell a lie? Son, let me tell you a little story. Ah! Giant radioactive worms! I'm alright, Dad! Dad! Dad!
Now, the next character is Sheen, and to be honest, he is my favorite character throughout the whole series, because he's basically me. I mean, he obsesses over a character named Ultra Lord, and that's very similar to Ultraman. And I mean, he's just the spontaneous, crazy guy, and he just sometimes says things out of nowhere, and he's just funny. That's the thing about him, and I just love that. And in fact, he was so popular that they eventually gave him a spin-off series in the future.
We don't talk about that one.
Rose Weezer weather. You better grab your sombrero, mi amigo, 'cause it's gonna be as high as Mexico. Ow, my scapula.
The last character I'll talk about is Carl. And, well, Carl, he's more of like the tubby guy of the series, and he's like, he has like a whole bunch of allergies, and, well, he's basically just the wimp. And he obsesses over llamas, so yeah, that's one thing. But, I mean, he still makes funny comments once in a while. I mean, he makes some real funny comments in the series. And the only reason why I think he's, like, really popular nowadays is he's basically become a giant meme. Now, I don't have any, like, memorabilia of Jimmy Neutron from when I was a kid. All I know are definitely some of the episodes. I've definitely watched them. And, of course, the only thing I have, like, that I can hold on to is the Jimmy Neutron movie. Okay, so, as you guys know, now we're going to move on to me giving a summary of a couple of the episodes. So, one episode I'll explain is one of my favorites, actually. It's called Ultra Sheen. So, one day Jimmy Neutron makes an invention called the Game Pyramid, and he invites Sheen and Carl to bring their favorite video games over. Now, also, keep this in mind, this was 2001, so the GameCube just came out. And, of course, Nickelodeon, they were giving their own comedic possibilities for making fun of the GameCube. So, for Jimmy Neutron, it was the Game Pyramid, and another series that aired on Nickelodeon, you probably know, Drake and Josh, they used the Game Sphere.
It's spherical! Spherical! Oh, come on, Retro Reject. We're not talking about Drake and Josh. We're talking about Jimmy Neutron.
Okay, reaction of me pretending to be the audience. Alright, so, back on track. So, anyway, Sheen brings over his favorite video game, which is Ultra Lord versus Robo Fiend. And the thing about the Game Pyramid is that you can teleport yourself inside the game. So, Sheen, of course, gets teleported into the game, which he can fight Robo Fiend with Ultra Lord. And in the first round, Sheen basically gets his butt kicked, and so Jimmy has to go in and help him. And also keep this in mind, they put it at level 1 because, just to make it easy, because you have to win in order to get out of the game. So like I said, Jimmy goes into the game with Sheen. They defeat Robo Fiend pretty easily because, well, it's level 1 and Robo Fiend has an off switch. Then shortly after, Carl shows up, and he thinks that the surprise that Jimmy had was that the Ultra Lord versus Robo Fiend game had Sheen and Jimmy in it. So he unknowingly actually plays the game, and he raises the level difficulty to level 7. And of course now Jimmy and Sheen, they're still stuck in the game, but now they have to fight Robo Fiend on a higher level. And of course Carl doesn't know that, so he plays as Robo Fiend, and he's basically beating the heck out of them, and they actually he actually kills Ultra Lord. And of course then Carl gets a little bit bored, and so he decides to plug in his favorite game. So meanwhile, back in the game, Jimmy and Sheen are left without Ultra Lord, and Sheen reveals that the only way they could possibly defeat Robo Fiend is that they find a power crystal. So Jimmy goes to try to find the power crystal while Sheen distracts Robo Fiend. Jimmy finds a crystal and he throws it to Sheen, but Sheen misses it and Robo Fiend catches it, and now he's powered up. So he catches up to Sheen and grabs him, but Carl put in his game along with the Robo Fiend versus Ultra Lord disc. So Carl comes riding in on like a whole army of llamas, and he saves Sheen, and Jimmy goes to find another power crystal. So he finds another power crystal and he throws it to Sheen. Sheen catches it and he gets powered up, and then he grows to Robo Fiend's size. And they fight for a bit by using like Super Saiyan Goku powers, and Sheen uses his Ultra Lord knowledge of that in a European cut of Ultra Lord, Robo Fiend is lactose intolerant, so he sprays him with a whole bunch of llama milk, and they win the game. So Sheen and Jimmy leave the game, but Carl is still left inside the game, and he's happy that he's riding a whole bunch of llamas. And Jimmy and Sheen, they let him do his thing, and they go off. And that's pretty much where the episode ends. Now, the second episode that I'm going to explain is called Maximum Hugh. And if you don't know who Hugh is, well, Hugh is Jimmy's dad. And shame on you if you don't know who he is, because he is a legend of memes.
And once when I was 7 years old, I sat on a banana. And of course, that changed my life.
So anyway, the episode begins with the city of Retroville. And if you don't know, Retroville is the place where Jimmy Neutron sets in. And they're having this parent-child picnic games the next day. And Cindy, if you don't know who Cindy is, she's another character who's kind of a bully to Jimmy, I guess. So Cindy and her mom, they basically win every year in those games. But Jimmy and Hugh, they lose every year. So Jimmy tries to come up with a plan to enhance Hugh's abilities. So he creates this skill altering headband so he could put it around his dad so then he could be better in every category. So he's basically cheating. So at the games, Jimmy and Hugh, they're basically starting to trump everybody in the categories. In the first category, it's like a marshmallow toss, which you have to, the child has to throw marshmallows into the parent's mouth. So Jimmy's dad, he basically pulls off like these matrix moves, and he like extends his tongue to like catch marshmallows. Cindy comes in the second place in that category. Carl and his dad, they're basically kind of wimps in the category. And Sheen, he actually didn't bring his dad because he's on a business trip. So he brought just this random hobo living out on the street who collects cans outside his dad's office. So yeah, Sheen wasn't winning any categories in this game. So the second game was kind of a child piggyback race, which they have to run across a field with carrying their children on their shoulders. And once again, Hugh wins the game because of the headband. And Cindy and her mom come in second place, and Hugh pulls up like probably the at least the funniest move that he does in the series. I laugh every time I see it. So Cindy starts catching on that there's something going on with Jimmy's dad, and she realizes that he's wearing the skill enhancing headband, so he gives him like a shaken up soda in which it sprays all over his face and then ruins the headband. And of course now Jimmy confesses to his dad that he was making him cheat, and they decide to do the last event still, but of course no cheating with the headband, and because Cindy and her mom basically insult the both of them. And also, the third final event of the race, apparently it counts for like 50% of their score, so it's like all or nothing. And of course, that's how a race works. It doesn't matter how many points you win in the other categories. The final one's the determining factor. So the final event is like a blindfolded wagon race. Right, so the child sits in the wagon, the parent pulls blindfolded, and of course Hugh and Jimmy, they lose, and Cindy and her mom win, and they're about to get their award, but Jimmy pulls like science out of his head of like, oh, that can't be your real mom because like your genes, there's no way that your mom's genes could pass down to be you and be different. And he also does say that there's a zipper on the back of her neck, and it turns out that Cindy's mom was her aunt, who was like a professional muscle modeler, I guess. And so Jimmy and Hugh, they're supposed to win, but Jimmy shows that they cheat. And pretty much everybody else in the games, they cheated in some way. But, so they didn't have a winner. until they showed that Carl and his dad, they basically didn't cheat at all, so they won just for, I guess, being losers and not cheating, so I guess that's good. So yeah, that was Jimmy Neutron, and of course I really like the series. I mean, it's well beloved from my childhood, and I really recommend it to anybody who hasn't seen the series, because I mean, it's really funny, and also even if you're not interested in like the whole like childhood stuff, nostalgia, and you're like only aware of like memes and stuff, it's still good to watch because Carl and Hugh are both basically giant memes in that series. But either way, how you look at it, it's an enjoyable series, even though the animation does look bad nowadays. But still, it's a good retro series, and I love it. So that's the video, guys. I'll see you guys next time. The old school is out.